is November 4th, 2021, and I'm here with Whitey?
Yeah.
Whitey Thornburg, and this is his story. Where did you start training? Or were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted. I went to Camp Walters, Texas, December the 14th, 1944.
How long did you do training there?
Well, I was in a night march, and I lost my voice, and they threw me in the hospital. They said I had spinal meningitis, and I was in there about a week, and then they decided I didn't have that. I had something else, and they didn't know what it was. Anyway, I was in there 3 weeks, and so I missed my complete first training cycle. Yes.
Okay. Did you do boot camp training?
Yes. Uh-huh.
How long was that?
6 weeks.
Okay. Did you do any training after that for anything else, or?
Well, I had my training was infantry and motor pool.
Okay.
And so I had about 4 weeks of motor pool training also.
Okay. And how long was the motor pool training?
That was 4 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you, or did you take a troop ship over to, or where did you go first?
Well, I went on my delayed route,
Mm-hmm.
and I reported to New York.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to go to Europe. And when I got there, he said, your ship just left 2 days ago. So they shipped me across country to California. From California, I went to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Hawaii, I got on a boat. We went to Okinawa. And,
okay. What kind of boat was it that you took to Okinawa? Was it LST?
No, it was Kaiser Surpriser, they called them, a troop ship.
Okay. Okay.
And we got within, I don't know what distance, but the kamikazes were hitting like mosquitoes.
Mm-hmm.
So we sat out there for about a week before, and then they decided to take us in, and I went over the side on the ropes then and went in on the LCI.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the war was over.
Mm-hmm.
And but I had about 3 weeks of just minor patrols and minor situations there, So.
What kind of weapon did you carry?
Well, I carried a B.A.R.
Okay, you were a B.A.R Man?
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
When I went in my bunk, when you assigned you a bunk, that's what your weapon was, and it was a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the sergeant, I don't want a flamethrower. He says, I didn't ask you what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the guys told me then, they said, well, if a bunk opens up, you get rid of that flamethrower and take on whatever was on that bunk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got rid of the flamethrower and I got a B.A.R.
Okay.
Shame on you.
What did you land on a beach when you went to Okinawa, or where did you land when you were?
Yeah, well, the LCI went on the beach. Yes.
Do you know what beach it was called?
No, I don't offhand.
Okay. Do you know what regiment and or company you were part of?
Yeah, I was in the 7th Division, 184th Infantry, 1st B Company, yes.
Okay. So, after the war ended, what were you doing?
Well, we packed up, took our big barracks bags down to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to Korea,
Mm-hmm.
while we carried a full combat pack.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a storm came up and picked up all the barracks bags and threw them out. They never saw a barracks bag again. They were all gone. And so that was. So then I got on the boat, and I had kind of a funny experience. Maybe you don't care about this. I had jungle rot. That's in the back of the neck, you know, where your head.
Okay.
And I went down to the naval medical place, and they put sulfur drug on it. I was sitting there up on the deck. This colonel walked by and he says, "What's that on your neck, soldier?" I said, "Sulfur drug." He says, "For what?" I said, "Jungle rot." He says, "Come with me." He says, so we went down and he said, who treated this soldier? And the guy come up and he says, "Well, I'm going to show you how you should have treated that." He said, sulfur drug would heal from the outside. That was a new drug in those days. It was a wonderful drug. And he said, "I'll show you how to do it." And he said, "Give me a hypo needle." So I gave him a hypo needle, and he said, "Hold your head over." I held my head over, and he cut that jungle rod out, and it looked like a little bug with
A spider.
with legs on it.
A spider.
Yeah, and he said that would have been in his neck. He said he would have been gone probably in 6 months.
Oh wow.
He said it would keep going. So that was my story there going over.
Who was he though?
Pardon?
Who was this man?
Oh well, yeah. He said when we get to Cree, he said, "Come and see me." And I said, "Well, where will I see you?" He said, "I'll be head of the hospital." Or
He was a doctor.
he was a colonel,
Okay.
head of the hospital. And so I did. I was in there a couple of days, and he checked me a couple of times and cleared me, and so we were all set then.
That you could have been gone.
Well, yeah.
Was your division ever getting prepared for the invasion of Japan?
Oh yeah, we were doing LCI landings for 2 weeks, preparing, to hit the beach and go in there. Yeah, we would have been going in, no question about that.
When did you hear about the bombs being dropped?
I don't know. It was one night, I guess. And some of the guys were screaming and hollering and raising hell. And I said, "What happened?" They said, "They dropped a big one on Japan." And that's when I heard that. And from that point, why, everybody was happy.
Okay.
You said that they had prepared you to go in with the mines and everything.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. When we were several miles out from Korea, they brought on a Japanese skipper, and I thought, well, this is great, But he was an expert on minefields, and so he guided us through the minefields, and we went into Korea.
Where in Korea did you go to?
Seoul, in the Seoul.
Okay.
And I had a very experience on Okinawa. I don't know if you care about it or not.
Go ahead.
This young man was a couple bunks from me, and he didn't speak English hardly at all. And he was just there. And I said to the sergeant, I said, "What's it with that guy?" And he said, "Well, this is a strange story," but he said, I don't want you to repeat it." He said, "When we were hit, my sergeant had been at Atu, Kiska, Courage, Luzon, and Okinawa. He had been in all those fights. He said, when we were in Luzon, he said, his twin brother, was killed. He said he came up to me with his uniform on and his dog tags and asked me if he could join. And the sergeant said, "Well, sure," because this guy spoke fluent Japanese, very fluent Japanese. And when we got to Okinawa, he would go out at night and roam around, and if he found a dead Jap that had a gold tooth, he picked it. He had a little bag, and he carried those gold teeth in the bag on his side. And he roamed around. He come in one night and told the sergeant. He said he found a hospital there. And so we went out the next day with a big tank and flamethrower, and they shot flames in the back, and about 300 doctors, nurses, patients came out of that operation.
This was in underground.
Yeah, it was underground.
The caves that they had.
And we had another experience where just stop me if you want me to.
No, go ahead.
I had another experience where this sergeant from another outside outfit, infantry outfit, or not infantry, artillery outfit, come in, and he said to my sergeant, he said, 4 of my guys went in looking for souvenirs, and the Japs blew up the entrance shut. You got to go get them. And the sergeant said, all due respect, sir, I'm not going out there tonight. I'll be there tomorrow morning at dawn. And so this little guy that roamed around that island, you know, he guided us over there, and we finally got dug in a little bit and got those guys out. And
You were elected because you were the
Pardon?
thinnest and tallest.
yeah, and yeah, I was the guy that got to go in and get them. But they weren't worried. The Japs, when that happened, they took off. They were gone. They were out of there. And I don't know how these guys ever came out. I mean, I don't know anything happened after that, you know. I think 2 of them were dead, and 2 of them were still alive, I believe. I just don't remember for sure.
Okay.
And but this little guy was a character, and he would be out all night talking to Japs, and you know they didn't know the difference, and he was quite a character. Okay, that was it.
Where were you when Pearl Harbor was attacked?
I was playing basketball over on the 4th Ward.
You're in LaPorte.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about it?
Well, you know, I don't know. I guess at that time I was not affected too much. I don't know why. Whether I was unhappy about it, of course, you know. But I don't think I was really comprehending how bad that was. Yes, it was. I had no idea that it was that bad.
Okay, tell me about your time in the Korean War.
I wasn't in the Korean War.
Oh.
We went to Korea, and I was in the motor pool in the infantry, 184th Infantry, and I had the motor pool, and we had a strange things in Korea. They had a big wall built around a castle. This wall was like 10 foot high, brick, and they, for whatever reason, they would go downtown to raid these drug places and take them in and store them in that castle. Well, the guys, the drug pushers would get these guys and try to get them to go over the wall and go in and get the drugs out. Well, a lot of them got over the wall, but none of them made it in. And then the next morning, believe it or not, we would go out with a truck and probably load up 20 dead bodies, Japanese or Korean bodies, and they took them down and had them cremated. That was the big adventure when I was there. We had another time there where 2 guys, the guys used to take a Jeep, and they would go up that to go up those steps, which the Koreans hated,
Oh,
because that was a religious thing for them. And they got to taking girls up there and doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Koreans got 2 doctors and cut 2 of these guys' essentials out.
Mm.
And so these guys in this platoon, of course, were ticked off.
Mm.
But they waited about 2 weeks, and then they started setting up this same scenario again. And finally, the doctors did show up. This infantry troop took off, and they grabbed these doctors and threw them over the side of that cliff.
Mm.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, and of course that was the end of that story, you know.
Wow.
And about 2 weeks later, they called us out for a standby. We were standing out there, and we stood out there for a long time. Pretty soon it come in, MacArthur come in and give us a 5-minute lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Stood up and give us a 5-minute lecture about treating the Koreans, how we should treat them, you know. And but anyway, the unit that I went into then after that was called the Palace Guard. The Palace Guard was you had to be 6'1" and weigh 160 pounds, or you weren't allowed to even apply.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that were in there, I had the motor pool. The guys that were in there were lawyers, photographers, interpreters. It was a 60-man unit, and the guy that was head of it was a 2-star general, General Carty, 2-star general, and he negotiated with the Russians over the 38th parallel, over and back.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I had the fun of getting the vehicles on the train and getting them off the train and all that. But basically, that was a fantastic unit. I loved it. I was in there 16 months, and boy, I loved every minute of it. We were treated like officers. We had the beds, we had the officers' meals, and this old general really treated us great. Yeah. And so that. Then I got ready to go. The boat came in, and for us to go, we went out to get ready to go. Then they announced that there would be a delay of about 4 weeks before they could get on the boat, because they had found out that the boat was contaminated with elephant typhus.
Ooh.
And they had to scrub the whole boat.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, the general heard that, so he sent the Jeep out to go. He says, tell him to get back to work. So I went back to work, and then about 2 days before the boat took off, then I went down again, and I was on the boat heading home.
What was your rank?
I was corporal.
Corporal.
T5, actually.
Okay. Did you bring back any souvenirs?
Yeah, I did. I brought back a Japanese officer's saber. My grandson, one of my grandsons wanted it, and I didn't see a need for it, so I gave it to him. So he has it, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate.
I'm sorry. Anything else I can do for you?
No, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you.